Hey guys, welcome back to another video from Mental Dive. The post of this video correlates to we talk about fear. We talk about two types of fear, good fear and bad fear. And we talk about how to kind of mentally visualize bad fear, to see it as a way that doesn't constrain us and how it doesn't affect the things that we want to do. So as always, my name is Chris, and let me take myself off the screen here and we can get started about some fear. So why fear? So first of all, what is fear? I believe fear can be described as kind of a big blanket that covers a wide variety of emotions. Because most of the time, I feel you never just have anger. You never just have maybe sadness or anxiety. It's always kind of a jumbled mix of a lot of negative emotions if you're not feeling too well. And all that can be broadly described as fear. So that's what I'm referring to as fear and everything going forward. So an actual definition of fear. If you do some search on the good old interwebs, a good one from Google Dictionary is an unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous, likely to cause pain or threat. And that's pretty good. But let's think about the bottom definition of fear. Your mind's assumed emotional reaction to a future event based on knowledge or past experiences. So basically what I'm saying is it's your mind interpreting the outcome of a future event based on something that happened in the past. And I think if you think of fear like this, it's already a good place to stop and analyze and say, okay, if I'm just worried about something happening in the future, about how something happened in the past, that sense of worry, I feel like thinking about it this way is a good way to identify that fear is self-generated. And that negative emotion is just your mind kind of playing tricks on you. So that's kind of how I visualize fear. So let's talk about good and bad fears. So what is a good fear? There's some good fears. Good fears cause survival instincts and those no thought reactions. So what I mean by that, survival instincts. So we all know, hopefully, not to stick our hand in the fire or put a fork in the electrical outlet because we'll get burned or we'll get shocked. And we don't want this to happen. We don't want our lives to be ended or us to get injured. So these kind of fears keep us alive. That's our survival instincts. No thought reactions, what are those? Hopefully you've not been in this situation, but unfortunately I have. So say you've been driving or you've been in a car with somebody and all of a sudden you just notice something pops out in front of you and you just slam on the brakes. Don't even think about it. You just smash the brakes and whatever's in front of you didn't get hit. You saved everyone in the car. Thank goodness. Now you never thought about it. You never spent the time to think, oh, what is that? You just did it. And that fear, you didn't think about it. You saw something, you freaked out and you hit the brakes, but it was a good hit the brakes because you saved lives. So those are your no thought reactions. That is where good fears come into play. Now, the main topic of this video and the post that correlates with it is the bad fears. What the heck are bad fears? So my belief, bad fears are anything that generates a self-doubt or a mental block. Now, what do I mean by a mental block? Any negative emotion that you generate yourself that stops you from doing something that you want to do. Now, I believe that a lot of people don't try new things or go for big goals because they're just scared. They're afraid that they're not going to be successful. They're afraid that maybe their friends will judge them and make fun of them, or they're afraid that they won't get the support from people that they want to get the support from. But maybe they don't recognize that fear is self-generated. And if they truly wanted to do that thing they want to do, that fear probably won't go away. But I feel if you understand the source of a bad fear, it's easier to either cope with or overcome altogether. So let's get into an example. Now, I feel most of us have been in a situation where we had to do some public speaking, either for work or for school, a big crowd of people, and probably people in the crowd are important to you, like you want to impress them, you want to do well. So let's use this as a good example. For public speaking, you probably get the butterflies, you get nervous, you maybe get the sweats, you get anxiety about you don't want to forget anything. And you could be a master of the subject, but if you're just nervous about being in front of people, you might not sound so mastery. So this is you. You might be all worried. You got all these colorful thoughts and emotions going through your head, and it's just not a good time. So let's jump into not the real world possibility. Let's say you're absolutely happy, hunky-dory, and let's say we want this line to be flat. The flatter this line is, the more solid of a presentation you're going to give, because nothing in your mind, nothing about you is stopping you from presenting everything you want to present. Nothing is stopping the audience from absorbing all the information you want to absorb, and all around good time. Now, I know for me, when I speak in front of people, this isn't the case, because I definitely get nervous. So, real world example here. So, this flat line is your perfect presentation. Now, let's say you're someone who doesn't recognize the source of these bad fears, and then this becomes your line. It's all finangled and it's not straight and it's just not doing good. So say this is you and you're letting the butterflies and the fears of don't stutter and what if I forget something and everyone's watching, and you let all those fears just overtake you, let it overcome. Then your presentation probably isn't going to be going so smooth. But let's say you're someone that's aware, just aware. Already, these arrows are getting shorter. You're getting closer to your flat line. And I feel just being aware of what fears are necessarily bad and what fears are good, then it's easier to cope with. And it's easier to not necessarily push them to the side, because you're always going to have butterflies and you're always going to have worries when it comes to public speaking. And if anyone that ever tells you they don't, they're lying to you. Because in my opinion, I believe the world's best public speakers, they still have all the worries that we have, but they understand getting worked up and getting worried or having fear about these negative emotions doesn't bring them where they want to be. They didn't become super successful and super well-spoken people for letting these fears overcome them or take them over. So now you're not just aware, but you recognize that these bad fears are not going to bring you to the destination you want to be. And knowing that I'm aware and won't let this affect me, your arrows are smaller, you're getting closer to your perfect presentation. And that's how you do it, at least in my opinion. So the whole point of this is recognize the source of a bad fear. Recognize that it's just self-generated. And I think if you can look at a situation, if you get mad or if you get fear about something, and if you recognize that the only reason that you're afraid is that it's just yourself, and then it's easier to just be like, oh, well, if it's just me, then why am I making myself feel negative? Because that's just not bringing any positivity in my life. Because if you don't recognize where these fears are coming from, the presentation, I believe, is more likely just to be all not so great. But when you're aware that you have these negative emotions, but they're just self-generated, you're going to have a smoother outcome, in my opinion. And if you're aware and then you're better coped, you're better able to present something that you're proud of, you're already one step ahead of the game. So thank you guys so much for watching. Once again, my name is Chris, and I will catch y'all on the next one.